Welcome to challengecancer.com, your online resource for scientifically sound, holistic support for those who are cancer concerned. My name is Dr. Kim Dalzel, and I'm the founder of Cancer Control Mastery and an international speaker on cancer and nutrition. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce another practitioner who has dedicated her life to helping individuals with cancer. Christine Magnus Moore started her career as an adult oncology nurse and specialized in bone marrow transplant, working in oncology for almost 8 years prior to her cancer diagnosis. She has also worked as a traveling nurse, post-anesthesia care unit nurse, and emergency room nurse. In her 30s, she was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. After completing her treatment, she was drawn back into oncology, but in the field of pediatric oncology intensive care. She does not shy away from anything. She has been a surgical oncology nurse, medical oncology nurse, charge nurse, and board member for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Christine created and is the co-leader of a youth adult cancer survivor group called the LLS, that stands for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, Southern California Cancer Connection. She is a speaker, hematology, stem cell transplant nurse coordinator, and continues to mentor and help cancer patients battling the disease. Her cancer diagnosis and patient insights led her to write her book, Both Sides of the Bedside, From Oncology Nurse to Patient, an RN's journey with cancer. It is because of her personal journey with cancer and extensive work in the oncology field that I have invited her to share today her wisdom. Christine, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Kim.
Oh, my pleasure. So let's get started right away. Can you please share a little about why you wrote the book, Both Sides of the Bedside?
Yes. When I was going through my cancer treatment, which my cancer treatment was 7 months of chemotherapy, I knew that I was called to write a book to share my newfound insights, perspectives, and unique perspectives and lessons learned on the journey. I knew that having this vantage point of being on both sides of the bedside, my hope and prayer was to that I could help patients, caregivers, and medical professionals understand hopefully new angles of the cancer journey and offer them hopefully compassion and just having them know that I had been through it and hopefully that they would be helped from my perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just no way to know what somebody's going through unless you've gone through it themselves, and still it's your own individual journey. But I found as a healthcare professional that knowing a little bit about the ins of the hospital, how things work, how medical records work, there's just an extra plus. So you provide such an important perspective from both sides, one that they can really relate to and one that says, hey, I've got the inside scoop.
Yes.
Beautiful.
It was quite a challenge. Being an oncology nurse which I loved my job, and I still love my job, working with cancer patients. But having been on the other side, I got just such an incredible amount of more respect and compassion, even deeper compassion for cancer patients. So yes, I felt that I understood the journey. I knew the chemotherapy that I was on. I knew, that my white blood cell counts would be dropping. I knew all of those things. I know what I had my treatment outpatient, but I knew all of everything involved with giving chemotherapy because I had given it to cancer patients. I can't count, probably thousands of times throughout my career. But having felt getting chemo myself, I didn't realize, and the emotional component that's involved with being a cancer patient, the depths, it's just a roller coaster ride throughout, feeling like you get sick from chemotherapy, and it's just completely, you lose your hair, you feel, emotional, anger, the sadness, even depression, all that involved with the cancer journey on top of not feeling well. I mean, I was a very active person prior to my diagnosis. I was, did spin classes, the indoor cycling classes. I traveled. I even did a 50-mile bike race, months before I was diagnosed. And, but during treatment, I was completely exhausted and sometimes could barely make it up a flight of stairs, and like I said, I was in my, and, but during treatment, I was completely exhausted and sometimes could barely make it up a flight of stairs, and like I said, I was in my 30s. So it was very, it's just a very humbling experience. And I felt very, my heart bled even deeper for cancer patients because I now understood the feelings involved and the depth that they got to.
Well, that's just what I was going to say. I was going to ask you a little bit more about your professional story and why you do what you do. And certainly you've just kind of alluded to the fact that you've got to be a better nurse.
I hope so. I pray and hope that that's the case. I actually feel that, my heart is always with cancer patients. I feel if I can make their journey better in any way, whether it's, sharing resources that they might not know about, obviously offering them compassion, if I can share my story and say I'm a survivor and, this is what I've been through, and, whatever insight I can give, on the journey, that's what I'm called to do. And I feel that, it's so important to, as I say, I have a quote in my book. It's one thing knowing you have people cheering you on, but yet another to know they've walked in your footsteps. And it's so important to know that someone has walked the journey, because there's just this knowing, this sense of knowing, wow, you have lived, within reason what I've lived. And it just, it touches our heart in a different way. And so that's what my hope and prayer is, that my story and my book and what I do is doing that for people and offering them caring and compassion and hope.
Well said, well said. So share a couple of key thoughts, will you, for those who are cancer concerned and those who have to navigate that medical system during treatment. You've had an advantage of a nurse to be on the inside. What advice would you give, or key thoughts would you give to those individuals who are just trying to navigate their way?
As far as the hospital goes, navigating, it's like learning another language. It's a foreign, or going to a foreign land, for people who aren't, familiar with the hospital. And I think just kind of looking at it that way, you'll get it, you'll get the information, you'll, definitely, ask questions, have other people with you on, to help you, caregivers on the journey, because it takes a big team. It takes, an emotional team, have people helping you in that way, but also, patience, is a key, I think. We definitely, I think there's gaps in knowledge because, we come from a system of, here, we're presenting, we're giving you your treatment, and, we know what it is, but sometimes, if there's questions, always ask questions, always feel, even if you're scared to, then have, just still ask, because there might be something that, we want you to feel comfortable. You should feel comfortable, and, eventually it'll all make sense, but give yourself a lot of grace and patience through that journey.
Absolutely. And you know what? You just said a major thing. Ask. Yeah. Because so often we sit there and we think, oh, I wish I could have this. Well, you could have this, but people can't read your mind.
Right. And I know for me, going through treatment here was another thing that I learned, which was a biggie for me. I was Miss Independent, and I needed to allow people to help me because I couldn't do it on my own. And that was a huge thing for me. So I needed to say, okay, I need to ask for help, or I was offered so much help, but I needed to accept the help at that time. And, when I did that, so much love and caring poured into my life. And that was the blessing. I felt, wow, so many people want to care and help, but they just don't always know how. So allowing yourself to be open to that, have people, bring meals or pray for you or even go with you to treatments or offer you, whatever it may be, inspirational books or, all those things are so helpful to, increasing your stamina, I think, on the cancer journey.
Yeah.
And having others help.
And when you're a caregiver, when you're the helper, you're not used to being helped. And
exactly.
it is to me, it's selfish not to allow people to help. I mean, I'm going to say at that point blank, it ends up being selfish because think about how fulfilled you feel when you get to help somebody. You don't want to deny other people of that.
I absolutely agree. And it's interesting to look at it that way, but people agree, and it's interesting to look at it that way, but people, usually, many people want to come out of the woodwork to help. They just don't know what to do. So that's kind of a key. And if they don't want to help, then that's okay. Other people will come. I think it's just, but it was a big lesson for me to learn to accept the help. Not that I needed to, sometimes I couldn't even talk to people. I didn't have the energy to even talk to them, but they'd leave me a nice message on the phone or send me a card. And I would say, don't expect that you have to give them anything in return or thank them, or, I mean, eventually you can thank them, but, talk to them right now because you might not have the energy, and that's okay. It's okay to not have that pressure on your back. Let them carry you. That's the purpose. And that's, I think, in the cancer journey, you really need to allow people who, are supportive to carry you through that. There's so many amazing organizations, even more than when I went through my treatment, which was, 15 and a half years ago. There's so much out there, churches and, just amazing organizations that really can offer help. But I think that's a real key that I learned. One of the keys that I learned that I had to do that. And then another was really feeling the grief of the cancer journey. I think that I really go deeply into that with my personal story. And that actually made me learn more about my patients too. I didn't realize the depths of the cancer journey in the grief spectrum. So anger, I felt angry, I felt sad, I was depressed, but going through those emotions, that's normal. Why would you be happy, at that particular time?
Yeah.
I mean, but that's how we're made. That's how we're made, is to, you have to grieve what you're going through, who you were, and then, who you're becoming. And then you get to the acceptance part. And I mean, there was eventually I got to the point where, I wore different wigs and try to make it happy, fun, and, make different things the fun. It's the simple things too. It's the little things that really add up. It really is. And appreciating water tasting like water, because with chemo, it changes your taste buds and it doesn't taste like water. So you really get to the point, I think, after going through the grief spectrum, realizing that's normal to feel this way. And if you need, help through that, please get it. This is a time to just embrace yourself. It's like armor, adding armor to you as a person. Please don't feel like, oh, no one wants to help me, I have to do this alone. No, please, add that armor to help you through this. That is just, a big thing that I learned, like I said, with the emotional grief component too, is huge.
Wow. I mean, the word allowing is just coming through loud and clear. It's so powerful. Can you share, you've already shared so many lessons, but is there another lesson that you learned during your personal journey that you'd like to share?
I would also add that sometimes, sometimes it's really, really hard. And sometimes you get by minute by minute, sometimes hour by hour. But hang on, things can change. And, like me, 15 and a half years later, I'm thank God I'm doing great. But, during the time of treatment, I could barely make it off the couch, and I was throwing up like there's nobody's business. and sometimes I could just think, okay, well, 5 minutes, okay, I'm better, and sometimes that's how it is. It's not always like that, but sometimes it is. And just knowing it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Again, allowing that time to pass, or that, okay, I got through this day that was not good at all. And then there's going to be another day.
Yeah.
So that, I'd say that just allowing yourself the grief again, to feel the grief journey. I'm a big proponent into journaling. So if you have those feelings, put it into, write it out. No one else looks at it, and then get it out of your mind. And just try to, embrace as much as you can of, good things. Allowing, people to pray for you and to, like do nice things for you. That's, it's very healing. That they will help in the healing process. That's what I see.
Beautiful. So no doubt some of that journaling helped you to write your book, and that's what I want to talk about next. Where can people find out more about you and your book, Both Sides of the Bedside?
I have a website, www.bothsidesofthebedside.com, where I also share some cancer resource information in there. I have a blog. I blog on, my journey, the journey that I've had and thus far. I have my book is available on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble Online, and Nook. And I also am on Twitter at Magnus Moore. And I have a book Facebook page, Both Sides of the Bedside, where I share latest cancer research information, latest cancer, research in general, inspirational messages, and what I'm up to. I write articles as well. I just wrote an article for Conquer magazine about survivorship, called Blossoming into Survivorship. So whatever I can do to share is what I do to hopefully help people.
Beautiful. And I just read that article, and it is you truly do have a gift for wrapping everything up in a way that contains the emotion, and the common sense, and just the whole journey piece. I mean, you really do. So yes, people, check out bothsidesofthebedside.com.
Thank you.
Now, one final question. You're up on the world stage. Everyone is watching you and listening to you. What is one message you'd like to leave for everyone who has been diagnosed with cancer? One message.
Allow yourself to feel the grief on the cancer journey, because it's a necessary part of the growth experience and brings us to a point of new growth and acceptance of where our life is now, and that, I believe, can help carry you through whatever it may be.
Beautiful last thought to leave us with. This has been wonderful, Christine. I can't thank you enough. Your caring, your dedication to not only your profession, but to people all over who have their own cancer journey. Just supporting people through their healing journey, and knowing that you really can walk side by side